Aloha, everybody. This is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks on YouTube, episode 145. Well, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. All these episodes, or some, or most. I fully appreciate it. And if you feel like um, doing one more thing besides listening, subscribing, and following the podcast on Spotify and YouTube, Tiggy Maximus Talks, you can make a small donation by clicking on the link on my Spotify episode, and you get a chance to donate a small donation towards the podcast. Anything's appreciated, guys. Um, well, you might have noticed I did trim my beard. I went to a special occasion, went to 2 comedy shows, which I'm going to talk about right now. So, I went to this comedy show at the Candy's Boom Boom Room in Pacific Beach on Mission Boulevard. And the show is run by Josh Nelson, another show by Josh. So, um, honestly, I would say he's like maybe the Mr. Pacific Beach comedy, honestly, because he has a show at the PB Backyard Kitchen, close by to the Candy's Boom Boom Room, in addition to Candy's Boom Boom Room. And then he does sometimes part of the Going Dutch show, which is actually more of Kane Holloway, but because it's usually held at the BB Backyard Kitchen, it's kind of collaboration. And show does well, and the restaurant bar does well. It's a great collaboration between Kane Holiday and Josh Nelson. So at the Candy's Boom Boom Room, Josh's show. First time there, it's inside the El Perez restaurant. Um, you actually get, I believe, 2 hours of free parking, and if anything, the most you ever would pay if you have validation is $10. So $10, so you don't have to keep going around and around and around the little area by the Candy's Boom Boom Room. So for me, I always like to try to find parking on the street if I can, if it's super convenient and lucky. But I would say 7 times out of 10, you probably won't find a convenient parking spot. And there's a parking garage underneath where you can get your validation and pay no more than $10. Or if you get out of there within 2 hours, free basically. So $0 or $10. So, I like Pacific Beach. Great place to have comedy, and of course, great place to try some good food. And obviously, you're close to the beach. So, Josh's show. When you first come in, you'll see a lot of the decor, kind of really spacious, and when you go in, you're going to get greeted, and they will tell you that the Candy's Boom Boom Room is downstairs. So, once you go downstairs, there's a couple flights, not too bad, and there's a bunch of seating more towards the center, towards the stage, and also a little bit off to the sides. And of course, there's some lounging going on the far reaches in the back, right by the bar. Or if you're looking straight at the stage, it's all the way in the back, all the way to the left. And that's pretty much where most of the comedians will hang out if you're invited to hang out with the comedians. For me, after the show, I end up basically Um, kind of walking up to all the comics after the show. Talk to them for a little bit, get some pictures, tag them later. Um, so this was of a short lineup that night, Wednesday night. It's 9 o'clock start, and there was some rain. It kind of rained a bit, starting from Wednesday night into Saturday, and yeah, um, Thursday, Friday for sure, Saturday as well. There might have been a little bit on Sunday, but I don't remember. The days kind of blend, so it kind of blurs when the rain happens, but the rain did come through here, so. Um, but yeah, short lineup at the comedy club. So it started off with Josh. Now it wasn't like a sold out crowd or anything. It wasn't a pack, but I would say at least 60%, 65% filled. And you couldn't tell because the center was filled up, but you couldn't tell anything from the sides. What's funny about some of the lounging is that one part of the lounging, right by the bar, there's a stripper pool, a dancing pool, um, there in the lounging area. Um, and then, so with this crowd, it was somewhat chill crowd. So Josh Nelson did his set once he started off as host, warming up the crowd. He told some jokes, some familiar ones about being the cool uncle. Talked about how, if the kid is messed up, then as an uncle, it's not really your fault. You can just simply walk away. You're not obligated. um, and as Josh talked about his nephew saying some smart things to him. And then Josh did talk about being single, not tied down. And then I think he also talked about, just, dating at this age versus dating someone much younger. So, I think this is probably maybe the first time because it was a chill crowd, and I usually see Josh and he does pretty well in 9 times out of 10 with the crowds. But this particular instance, because of the chill crowd, it kind of curbed how great his set was. I would say overall, Josh probably did an 8.5 out of 10. Normally, I would say he would be doing like 9s, but this particular night at the Candy's Boom Boom Room, probably the case because it was raining outside, that people didn't want, maybe quite possibly didn't want to come out for a comedy show on a Wednesday night if it's raining. So, but yeah, 8.5. I mean, most of the people laughed that were there. I liked it. He also mentioned how his nephew wanted to show Uncle Josh his thing, his little thing. But then Josh was like, no, I'm cool. But then I guess his brother had said, or brother-in-law said, no, it's cool. It's not what you think. So, apparently his nephew made a TP, but because he can't say the letter T, he has to say PP. So, um, yeah, overall, great set. And the fact that people laughed, not all of them, but some, he did very well. Next, I believe it was Bill Alvarez. Good to see him, saw him lounging. That was a spot where there was a stripper pole in front of him. Had some great jokes. Started off pretty well. Crowd liked it in the first 5 minutes, and then it kind of cooled down before the set had finished. Phil talked about occupations and his other job, construction company. But yeah, I would say he did pretty well with the crowd for the most part, and then it kind of cooled off a little bit towards the end, but overall pretty good. I would say Phil, he was 8.45 for his comedy. Next, it was Dusty Tunnel, great guy. Well, he did talk about waffle stomping. Waffle stomping in the shower. You could probably imagine what I'm talking about. But yeah, it got a little more chilled and got a little more quiet for most of it. But I would say Dusty did pretty decent. I would say he was a 7.9 out of 10. And then you have your headliner. I have to see this lady again, Chase O'Donnell. She's really nice. She talked about being single, dating, her sister. I guess her sister's always has to one up her, like job wise, getting married first. So Chase did pretty well. Crowd work was good. And then it kind of started to chill off at times, more in the second half of her set, and it did kind of start a little bit slow too. But she got to know the crowd through her crowd work. There's a lot of guys in the front, so. At first I didn't know if she recognized me or not, but she recognized me, like about, I don't know, before she got up. So, but crowd laughed. For most of the crowd laughed at the stuff that she was making jokes about and the stuff she was talking about, and but it started to kind of die down. So I would say Chase was 8.4 out of 10. But overall, I got to hang out with everybody, and then kind of stayed back and talked to Josh and Chase and the bartender and the waitress. That was fun after the show, and a good overall show. I'm going to be back at the Boom Boom Room on December 20th. Jarwan Nelson is going to do his game show, comedy show, game set match comedy. And I'm actually looking forward to see how that's going to go and how that's going to, play out. So, and I believe there's a link you can register to play. So, that's what I'm going to do. So, I have plans for December 20th, Wednesday night, at the Candy's Boom Boom Room in Pacific Beach, Mission Boulevard. 4190 Mission Boulevard. Um, so yeah, overall, good show. And I did have some. The tacos trio had carne asada, chicken puree or something, and the shrimp salsa salsa verde, salsa verde. So, um, and then I went to the Well Dressed, a night of comedy and jazz comedy show at the Hollywood Roosevelt. Got to go with Melissa Weisman, um, a great comic here in San Diego, and uh, so Josh Edelman, he usually produces and runs the show, but he wasn't there on Saturday night. It was hosted and run by Lori Douglas. So Lori came out, beautiful red dress, and she welcomed the crowd after the Daniel Rodham Trio jazz band came out and played music to start off. And then Lori told some jokes how she moved back in with her mom and dad, talking about vibrators and how only somebody in the household is having sex and it's not her. So, but overall, she was pretty good. I see her picture a lot on a flyer at the Dime Bar in LA. So maybe someday I'll get to see her there. And then she told me that she has a show at the Hollywood Improv. So I'll check that out, either club, to see her comedy. And her comedy was an 8.5 out of 10. Next, I believe we have Nick Taravelli. He talked about having like 4 shirts in his, or 6 outfits. He owns 4 shirts. So, he was funny. He got more laughs as his set went on. I would say he was a 8.4 out of 10. I believe another person that came up was Kayla Crawford, and she talked about, I think this was her too, that things dads should say in public, and the ones, I guess she mentioned that her dad mentioned that to her daughter that she's sexy, and she told her dad, you can't say that. But then she's complaining that her husband doesn't say that she's sexy. So, she started off a little bit slow too, but the crowd started laughing more after like the first couple of minutes, and then throughout the rest of the set. She did pretty well. I would say she was a 8.5 out of 10. And then there was a I think her name was Jane Austen. So, and I guess her husband is Nick Taravelli. So she came out and said that she doesn't go out a lot, and for the fact that for her to dress up a little is kind of a big deal. And apparently, I took a good photo of her, and she was kind of raving about it. And then I guess got to make a new friend with a comic. So Jane Austen, I would say her stuff was 8.5 out of 10. And then, let's see, let's see who else. There was an Eric Helwig. He actually taught a class that Melissa Wiseman went to. Kind of a stand-up improv class. And then after the show, I guess I reconnected Eric with Melissa. So Eric was pretty funny. Crowd liked him for most of his set. Not also kind of a slow start due to a chilled crowd. I would say Eric. Eric was a 8.3 out of 10. Um, 8.3, and then there was let's see. Yeah, 8.34. Let's see. Eric Helwig, yeah. So I believe the next person that came up was Jane Austen, and no, I think I talked about her. And Jane Austen had no. Kayla Crawford was the one who talked about the dad thing. She was 8.4. And then next you have Kayla Crawford talked about how her husband doesn't say that she's sexy. And then I guess I gave her 8.4 out of 10. And then we got Jane Austen. She said that she doesn't go out a lot, so the fact that she dressed up for the show was kind of a big deal. And before that, I think she said that she dresses down a lot, especially at home. She's in sweats. So let's see. Um, so then Jane Austen, talking about dressing down. Um, she was basically an 8.5 out of 10. Um, and then we got Nikki Bond. She did pretty well. She talked about how her dad left. Dad was a drummer. She doesn't like it when her her mom compares. Um, I guess about the job. I was talked about her, I guess her mom and dad or something. So, and then she said that her dad left when she was young. He was a drummer, and then she kept turning into the drummer. So, all fun and games. I would say Nikki was 8.6 out of 10. Um, uh, Nikki Bond, I would say she was a 8.6 out of 10 for a comedy. And then there was Joseph Skull. Um, let's see. Um, Joe talked about being gay, the partners he's had, Grinder, Hinge, and then just his positivity. Really made it a really great set. Told a lot of great jokes about um, how he was on a date. The date was in a diaper, so he's an adult baby. And then he talked about that. Pretty funny joke. And then I would say Joseph Schley. He was an 8.9 out of 10. And then your headliner was Jay Washington. It was pretty funny. He talked about fantasy football. Um, kind of liked him a lot. He was probably the best one. So I laughed a lot at a lot of his jokes. Melissa laughed a lot too. And all the people around us laughed a lot too. And during this time, I actually had some cheesecake. I actually had 2 cheesecakes because one was a mistake. They couldn't send it back, so I had 2. And it had some sliders, and that was actually taken off the bill because it was delivered late. So, But great staff though. Thank you, Jessica, at the Hollywood Roosevelt Theater. Um, and then I would say Jay Washington overall, great set. Crowd loved it a lot. You could hear it almost the whole crowd. I would say Jay Washington was a 9 out of 10. So, um, overall, great trip up to LA. Great set of comics. Great hosted by Lori. Um, and got to dress up. So I got to bust out my another item from Shen. It was a blue vest. Looks great. I wore it underneath my blue jacket. So good stuff. So overall, great experience. Got to hang out with a great friend. Great comedy show. And yeah. So next time I talk to you guys, I'll talk to you guys about the Chargers, some good food I've tried, and more comedy shows to come. I'm going to a comedy show, Pally Wine, Wednesday night on India Street. Great lineup at Cash Comedy, so I'll talk about that probably next time. Alright guys, this is Tiggy Maximus. Boom. Talk to you guys later. Baby. There guys.